Episode number 385. I have avenged myself, said he. Avenged yourself, said the Baron. Rather say that you have served as an instrument to that accursed woman, but I swear to you that this crime shall be allayed. I don't know what you mean, replied Felton, quietly, and I am ignorant of whom you are speaking, my lord. I killed the Duke of Buckingham, because he twice refused you yourself to appoint me captain. I have punished him for his injustice, that is all. De Winter, stupefied, looked on, while the soldiers bound Felton, and could not tell what to think of such insensibility. One thing alone, however, threw a shade over the pallid brow of Felton. At every noise he heard, the simple Puritan fancied he recognized the step and voice of Milady coming to throw herself into his arms, to accuse herself, and die with him. All at once he started. His eyes became fixed upon a point of the sea, commanded by the terrace, where he was. With the eagle glance of a sailor he had recognized there, where another would have seen only a gull hovering over the waves, the sail of a sloop, which was directed towards the coast of France. He grew deadly pale, placed his hand upon his hat, which was breaking, and at once perceived all the treachery. "One last favor, my lord," said he to the Baron. "What?" asked his lordship. "What o'clock is it?" The Baron drew out his watch. "It wants 10 minutes to 9, said he. Milady had hastened the departure by an hour and a half. As soon as she heard the cannon, which announced the fatal event, she had ordered the anchor to be weighed. The vessel was making way under a blue sky, at great distance from the coast. "God has so willed it," said he, with the resignation of a fanatic, but without, however, being able to take his eyes from that ship, on board of which he doubtless fancied he could distinguish the white outline of her to whom he had sacrificed his life. De Winter followed his look, observed his feelings, and guessed all. "Be punished alone, for the first, miserable man," said Lord De Winter to Felton, who was being dragged away with his eyes turned towards the sea. "But I swear to you by the memory of my brother whom I have loved so much that your accomplice is not saved." Felton lowered his head without pronouncing a syllable. As to Lord De Winter, he descended the stairs rapidly, and went straight to the port. 60 in France. The first fear of the King of England, Charles I, on learning of the death of the Duke, was that such terrible news might discourage the Rothschilds. He tried, says Richelieu in his memoirs, to conceal it from them as long as possible, closing all the ports of his kingdom, and carefully keeping watch that no vessel should sail until the army, which Buckingham was getting together had gone, taking upon himself, in default of Buckingham, to superintend the departure. He carried the strictness of this order so far as to detain in England the ambassadors of Denmark, who had taken their leave, and the regular ambassador of Holland, who was to take back to the port of Flushing the Indian merchantmen, of which Charles had made restitution to the United Provinces.